Hey gun people, start my little probation timer. I am going to talk about Moki Kitty. No, I'm going to turn this around. Let's do a crazy cop story on when I was working with the FBI on this case. So as most of you know, what the government has done to try and consolidate federal government power is the federal government has incorporated the local law enforcement into their law enforcement circle. So in order for a local cop to enforce federal law and get federal search warrants and do federal investigations on federal crimes, which would normally be held for federal officers, they have created a program to where they make local law enforcement deputy FBI agents. So I work Safe Streets Task Force for the gang unit, and what they did is all the guys that work in gangs for Safe Streets, you do the paperwork, become an FBI agent, do the background, they go, they question, you're already a cop, you already carry a gun, they run your criminal history, and then you have to go through a swearing in ceremony. I think the U.S. Marshal swears you in because you're also sworn in as a U.S. Marshal and as a FBI agent. So then once we're sworn in as this, we have our little FBI credentials and we can enforce federal law depending on what hat we have. Now, technically, the rule is we can't enforce federal law and do something unless we're under our federal hat of working with the FBI. So we can't be out there on a stop and go, how you doing? I'm stopping you under state law as a state cop or a city cop or, a state jurisdiction peace officer, and then all of a sudden switch hats after I get this person to become an FBI guy and start doing a federal investigation. So technically, what they would do is that the FBI would say, we got this case, it's a federal case, we need more bodies, you guys are FBI agents, we're going to use you on this case. So, and that's what happened in this cop story here is, so they needed some extra agents to do some surveillance. If you want to look it up, I can't remember, Lodi, they caught some terrorists. So they were following this, did I lose Moki? Hi Moki! Don't you turn off my timer because that thing's working. Don't turn off my timer, you'll be in big trouble. So they bring us down to Lodi and we're following all these suspected terrorists. And there's a huge Muslim population in Lodi, California. I had no clue. I mean, I worked a couple cases, made a couple arrests down there, did some auto theft stuff, but never did I know there was that many Muslims. I mean, they had a whole neighborhood and a house turned into a mosque, and they would go to prayer there, and they would play their music out loud, and they'd all come out in their pajamas and their head wraps, and I'm just like, holy cow! And they would just totally dominate and take over like they do, like locusts and everything else. They'd run from the area they've destroyed to the area that's doing good until they destroy and use and abuse that, and then they'll go on to the next area and feed. So, huge Muslim population, and they're going to probably censor this video now because it's, I'm talking about the poor, protected class of Muslims. So, we go down there and we're investigating because they've got some terrorist ties and the FBI's been working a case on them, but they want some 24-hour surveillance, and we've got all our undercover cars, and my hair's a little longer and I'm shaving so I can look like a bum, and so they just used us. They grabbed the guys who were the FBI agents and said, we need to come work with us. Now the problem with this is as I work for the DA's office, and the only person that can investigate the DA is the feds. That would be the FBI. Well, when the FBI boss is working with the DA and they're sharing resources and they're helping each other out, and when they ask for bodies, he gives them bodies, and then when he wants something, they give him. So if we needed FBI assistance on something sometimes, they'd be like, hey, you guys go do your FBI knuckle bump and go ask them if they can get us these resources that they have that we don't have. So there's this sharing, and everybody might go, oh, that's great, that's the way law enforcement should work. It's not good. That's how you get abuse. There's no checks and balances. Nobody's going to talk to each other. They're just soon the same agency, and nobody's ever going to investigate or tell the other agency you're doing wrong. Unless, they want to go after somebody. The DA started an investigation on me one time, but I'll make that another story. So, as the FBI, we're out there, we're following these people, and there's this one guy that they've been looking for, and they spot him coming out of the house. And I'm around a corner because I'm like one of the chase cars. If somebody leaves, I'm going to follow them and get some intel and do that. So I'm around the corner. I just went to Subway, grabbed me a sub sandwich, sitting in my car, got my little paper plate, I'm ready to eat. They call me up. Yo, man, get over here. We've been looking for this guy. We need you to follow. I'm like, shit, there goes my sandwich. So I go over there. I take off to the house. They give me the car. They give me the car. I come in. There's 2 or 3 people in there, and they pull out. So I'm following them, and we're talking on the radio and stuff, and they're like, you know, the guy in the front passenger seat, we think's a heavy hitter. We haven't been able to identify him. We really want to know who he is. You know, see where they're going, kind of stay on them, and let's see what intel we can grab. So, and you know, while I'm following, there's a couple other cars coming from other areas so we can jump in, because when you're following somebody, you know, the car that's closest following will turn off in case they start thinking, hey, that car's been behind me a few days. Then I'll turn off, and the guy behind me will become a lean car. I'll come back around, I'll get in the Congo line. You know, 2 or 3 miles later, this guy will turn off this way, and then the next guy will be following for a while, then he'll turn off, and it'll be me again. People won't keep up with multiple cars, but if you just stay right behind them, they'll keep up with your car. So we're doing this following thing, and so I get on the radio with the agent, and I'm like, dude, you're trying to ID this guy. I'll click on my lights, pull him over, I'll ID everybody in the car. The dude's got, I think he had expired plates, no front plates, something hanging from his mirror. I said, I got 3 or 4 violations. I'll just pull him over. This is why I don't like working with FBI. Oh, I don't know. It might tip him off. Let me check with the agent in charge. I need to get permission. I don't want... And I'm just like, are you kidding me? A freaking simple traffic stop just to stop somebody and ID? I said, I do this 100 times a day. And I'm not even following the people. I ID everybody in the car. I pull them over for a violation. If they're not wanted and they don't have a warrant, I let them go. So, you know, me and this FBI agent kind of got... I wouldn't say we got in a beef, but I was kind of like, let him know that I thought that was fucking bullshit. And I'm like, dude, really? We can't even pull it? I go, what the hell am I here for? Well, you don't understand. And I go, you got a guy that you haven't been able to identify. You got me behind him that I can pull him over violations. And, you know, again, we're kind of getting into FBI can't stop for state violations. The FBI can't pull you over for running a stop sign because that's a state thing. It's not a federal law. They can stop you for federal crimes, but they can't stop you for state. And it's kind of, you know, to me, it's all BS. It's when they want to do it and when they don't want to do it, and you know, whatever the rules are that fit them that day. But for some reason, because this guy was a Muslim and we didn't want to get a complaint, or they didn't want to tip him off or something, they didn't want me stopping him wearing my FBI hat as a state guy. And I'm just like, you're going to lose intel on a guy that you haven't been able to ID, that I have right in front of me, that I can get some ID off him and we'll know who the guy is, or at least who he says he is. Hell, I can even give him a ticket and tell him I need his thumbprint on the ticket for some bullshit offense, and we'll dismiss the ticket. And they end up letting him go. I mean, we followed him for a while, got a couple stops. He stopped talking to people. We took a couple pictures, and guy drove off. So, you know, they ended up busting the case open, and there was a big news release, and terrorist in Lodi, California, and all this other crap. But I don't know if they ever got this guy, if they ever identified him, if he got away. I just, you know, it's some of the frustration sometimes of just doing the right thing. I mean, if this guy's an important key member in a terrorist group, you don't really want, hi Moki, where are you going? You don't want to pass up an opportunity. If he rubs on that camera, I'm going to beat him like a... They're going to be fur flying, boy. You better get away from that camera. All right, he didn't touch it. He's going to the shade over there in the tree. And the horses are walking up. So anyway, that was the case on working with the FBI. Pros and cons. I mean, I don't like the idea that they do that because, again, it makes this connection. The FBI is going to feel less likely to want to find corruption in the DA's office because they need them for bodies. And they have helped them. And they have developed this relationship. And they've developed this closeness to where I help you, you help me, therefore one of us is in trouble, we're going to help each other. Which I always thought was a joke when somebody goes, we need to have the FBI investigate. We need to call the FBI just comes in and does the knuckle bump and says, hey man, you know, we got to investigate because of this, and we're sure your guys is right. And, you know, unless it's blatant that they can't ignore it or cover it up, the FBI investigating a local agency, it's still government protecting government. And at some point, the FBI is going to need these locals. And the locals are going to need the FBI. And when you develop this need That's how you get corruption. They should be separate, they should be far apart, and their working together should be slim to none. You do your federal cases, we're going to do our state cases. If they overlap, maybe we'll work. Otherwise, hey, we don't want to get in bed with either one of you guys. We don't want you feds coming out telling us how to do and protect and how to deal with our locals, because we're locally elected, we're locally controlled, and we report to the people locally. And once the feds get involved, then it becomes a big bureaucracy, and now we're reporting to a whole bunch of people that nobody knows who they are. We just call it the federal government. And it's never, who do you blame? The federal government. The federal government are people. People that started out as probably decent people who are now tied at the hip to the corrupt and the tyranny because of their job, because of their retirement, because of their benefits, because of their hierarchy, their power, their ability to get things done, they're liked, and so anyway, I was thinking that story. I saw something on TV about Lodi, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot about that case where, the FBI was scared to make a trade. And that's how the FBI is. They're very... Make sure Smokey didn't turn this off. Hey, I got 2 minutes. So, the FBI is very... That's why when you work with them, they've got so many rules and checks and balances, when they want to, when it deals with Muslims. But I guarantee you, if they were going after the Patriot, all those rules were out the window when they were doing the Oregon, the Bundy Ranch stuff. BLM was all involved. The FBI was involved. None of those rules applied, I guarantee you. And again, government is always subjective. They make rules. Fools and sheep think they're good rules and they're going to be good. And then they don't realize that governments can make these rules, then they get to enforce it. Remember when you make so many laws that everybody's a criminal? Now the government can just pick and choose who they want to put in jail, who they want to threaten, and who they think they can control and who they can't control. But yet they have this big grasp because now everybody's a criminal. And that's why we have one reg, just came out, Obama just 20,000 pages of new laws and regulations for one act that they just enacted. I was reading an article, I go, you gotta be shitting me, 20,000? How the hell, does anybody know how many laws we have on the books? Does anybody have a clue between federal, state, city, local, county code, BLM, DEA, Food and Drug, USDA? Can anybody know all laws? You know what? You don't need to know it. Government can come get you, they can arrest you, and you know what they're gonna tell you? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You're going to jail because we're the government and we're here to help. Trust us. All right, we'll let that there, little buddy. Mr. T, come up here. Hi, boys. Mr. T, you've been rolling in the mud, boy. You trying to look tan like Buddy Boy? They might have went for a swim or been rolling. Horses will roll to get the mud on them so it protects them from the heat of the sun and keeps the flies off them. So that's why they're rolling out there. All right, we'll end that there on Crazy Cop Story FBI.